Right.
Right. Thank you very much for this invitation, and I hope our observation and practical procedures on the ground will match the academic and science background for the virus. Especially the last question, we were like really trying to find the answer for that question when we decide to do our procedures on the island. I'm Ibrahim. I'm a researcher warden on Coquet Island. Coquet Island is a RSPB reserve. Just quickly, I will go with the quick induction for the site. That maybe help well a bit to understand what happened and our procedures and the result of this outbreak on our birds. Coquet Island is a RSPB seabird reserve located 1 mile from Ampleport. It's a flat plateau, about 8 hectares. The plateau itself surrounded by low cliff and sandy beach on the southwest corner, narrow shingle beach on the southeast corner. Coquet Island is a SSI area and special protection area. It hosts around 80,000 bird, seabird breeding on it. The island, apart of having puffin, eiders, kittiwakes, and fulmar, it's also home for 4 tern species. The male rosy tern, the only colony breeding on Coquet Island in the UK, which is considered highly threatened on the national level and listed as well on red categories. Is that? I think there's delay in my slides. Can you see now this slide?
Yeah, that's fine, Ibrahim. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So I was saying the island itself is 8 hectare flat plateau, and we have the sandy beach on the southeast corner, and we have different species breeding on the island on the side. And this matching somehow the distribution of the birds from the north. You can here we have gulls and puffin, the eider ducks, black-headed gull on this purple area, and the terns located on this yellow side here. And on the edge here we have the kittiwakes. I hope that's give an idea about the bird distribution on the island. I will speak about the outbreak on 3 stages: before the outbreak, and during, and after. So before the outbreak happened, I'm talking about mid-April to mid-June, we were heading to the best results, best season ever, with 4 records with the terns, with record with kittiwakes, and record as well in fulmar. I highlighted as well the goose figures here for later on. I will speak about these 2 observations as well on the island this season. And everything was absolutely going brilliant. The food availability, the birds arrived on time, everything going exactly as we want, exactly as we hope, until we start notice this observation. And this was my first observation for Arctic tern dead. And I text Crested Fan, our research volunteer on Coquet Island. I said, like, I have seen this 2 Arctic tern dead on the nest, which was like a bit worrying. And then he said, oh, well, we should keep in our mind avian flu then now. Since then, I start to do scanning regularly for the colony, just to see if there's any increase of the dead birds on the colony. And for around a month, I was always finding 1 or 2 dead birds between different species, common or Arctic or black-headed gull, but not in very remarkable number. Until 17th of June, when was the noticeable number of dead birds. Before that, we start ourselves to plan ahead about what's happening there. So we were like ringing the birds, but we had different procedures to prevent spreading the virus if it's there. We're still not sure what's happening. So we were disinfected every tools we are using in ringing the birds, using gloves, change the gloves between each bird, disinfect our shoes from area to area. So just in case we have the avian flu there. But at that time, we're still not sure what's happening, if there's really infected species or not. Until this time, 17th of June, it was the turning point really on Coquet about what's happening. I found a noticeable number of dead birds from different species. We called DEFRA on 17th and 18th and 20th of June to get guidance, let's say, or instruction about what we should do. Shall we send the samples to them? Shall we? Is there any kit available for us to do the test? Sort of things was like confusing for us. Well, what we should do on the ground. There's no clear guidance about the best practice to do it. We sent some samples with our conservation officer to the Animal and Plant Health Agency on 22nd of June, and we've got the result in after a week. During that time, we were as well trying to, to raise the time to be ahead of the virus. So we applied for the license as well to bury the birds from natural England. We've got the consent on 22nd of June, and then based on that, I start to collect the dead birds from the beach area around the colonies, from the colonies, and then take all the dead birds and bury them in a certain location. That location was decided based on advice from DEFRA to be away from the water, away from water sources, away from any scavenger. We don't have any scavenging animals, fox or any digging birds for their carcasses. So we were safe from that side. And I start collecting the dead birds, categorize them, see exactly is there any injury on the birds or not, trying to describe the situation of the birds dead from, or the collected dead birds. If there's any injury or something like that, I will exclude it from the count. I'll just keep the one with no injury, just to make sure there's no bias about the dead birds from bird flu or injury from the white. As a result, we collect around 2,000 from on the island itself, without the birds and the sea or in the coastal area. We collect from all the species around more than 2,122 actually, and there is potentially double of this number from the bird drafted in the water or in the coastal area. Focusing on the tern itself, the tern species itself, the high loss was on the roseate tern. We've lost around 55% of the colony from counting how many nests found with dead chicks in the boxes, followed by the common tern, which is as well highly affected by this outbreak. Most importantly, we lost the whole chicks for the total chicks in. I'm not sure if you can see this video here. From the first colony of the sandwich tern with around 2,000 nests, in a matter of 2 weeks, the virus wiped out all the chicks, with not a single one survived from that colony. And you see the density in this colony, and it's close to our walking path to the lighthouse. So it's well-established colony, accepting our presence there. I'm just here literally 1 meter from these birds, and even I'm just very close to them. So they were like settled and accepting our presence in terms of no disturbance, causing more spreading for the virus. Linked to the last question to to these. Then again with the chicks level as well, we've lost around 60% of the chicks from the rosy tern colony, and it is the lowest productivity ever since 1985 in rosy tern colony. Important observation. Now here I'm saying this observation just for the sake of for the future work, what we should do, or in that case, as well linked to some questions from the previous talk. So this is my enclosure for the productivity, and one of the birds, Arctic tern, getting sick from the virus, and you can see the other bird trying to kill it, and then try to mate with it as well at the end. So that's as well similar to what Tej said about the sandwich tern. Same observation here with the Arctic tern and common tern. And here's the question about maybe in the future, shall we remove the dead or dying birds or leave them? It's a really important things to know for the future work in terms of slowing spreading the virus between the species or the birds itself. Another important observation for the same point as well. Here I was collecting the dead birds from Arctic tern colony as well, and you see how many dead birds here. Let's say the laser. So you see here like the density of how many dead birds I'm collecting, and you can see the chicks for the Arctic tern and adult as well just above of me, and they survived. So my point here from this observation, I don't know if they're developing immunity and resistance to this virus, or they didn't get it. We need really more research and more tests to know the answer for such observation here on such sites. Right, and then my third observation, which is as well linked to important things for the management as well. I have skewer here, but you can see it was scavenging on sick kittiwakes and sick gulls, and both of them died. Of course, the skewer as well died in 2 days after scavenging on sick dead gulls, and kestrel was attacking sick Arctic tern, and we found it dead after 2 days on the island. Which is as well my point here as well with the top of predators, and especially the large gulls. For example, it's the island itself. It's just one mile from the coast and 1 mile from the mainland, where a lot of farms and a lot of poultry there. So it's continuous bridge between the mainland and the wildlife colonies, let us say, generally speaking. So we need to know as well in the future the best practice to manage such top predators and the connection between the wildlife colonies and the mainland with the farms. Another important observation of different symptoms between the species, yes, and different symptoms between the adults and the juvenile for this virus. So I found very similar symptoms between the common tern, Arctic tern, and rosy tern, and not sandwich tern in terms of flipping or in terms of stiff wings or tiredness or exhausted bird, and different from the gulls. So it's really vary the symptoms. There's some general sharing symptoms, but there's obviously some categories of the birds have different symptoms from behavior-wise. What we are doing now after this is the third stage. We now spreading and disinfect all the surface, all the possible contaminated surface, the path, the area where the colonies, the nest boxes, all the used tools. We did that actually twice at least so far, and we collect some the last dead chicks from the sandwich tern colony and disinfect all that area as well. The next step will be testing that area to see if there's any remains from the virus or not. it's important to know this question as well, because I've heard now they're saying it might stay or last in the environment for weeks, especially with dead birds as well, still on the site. Generally now, what's happened on Coquet is mainly affected by this virus. Black-headed gull and kittiwake, not really as bad as the other colonies reported. Buffer and Fulmer, not noticeable mortality at all in terms of having these symptoms on them. And of course, this big job will not be done successfully without having a great team. Thank you for them, thank you for the volunteers, and thank you for everyone emailing us, texting us, supporting this great team during this hard time for us and for the birds. I hope that's give you a clearer and idea about what's happened on Coquet.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim. That's really excellent to hear what it's been like on the ground, as you say. That's a really fascinating, inspiring talk. We're a little bit behind time, but maybe we've got time for one question, if there's one in the room or one online, or shall we move on, Amandine?
There's one online from TC if you want to ask it.
Okay. Tis, would you like to ask the question, Tis, or?
Yes, thanks, Ibrahim, for a very interesting talk and very clearly presented. I have a question about the fact that you say that at the beginning there was sporadic mortality, probably from AI, but then suddenly it increased rapidly around the 17th of June. How did that associate temporally with the fledging stage of the different tern species?
Yes, that's thank you for this question. Actually, as well, I will say it as observation. I am the recording the dead birds. Yes, sort of. I think there's a link between the chicks' mobility as well, spreading the virus there. That's the only things changed, let us say, on that date. So we have the chicks starting to move and mobile and between the areas. So possibly could be spreading the virus. For example, one of the roseate tern boxes with the camera, the chick moved out the box around the dead common tern and died from the virus, and then followed by the male, and then the second chick, and then the female. So that's definitely happened when, I will say, for that certain box from the chicks itself.
Okay, thank you. So that's very relevant, and I think it's worthwhile also for others to check on this temporal association. I know of two virus host pairs where it occurs. So in double-crested cormorants, in Newcastle disease in North America, outbreaks typically occur at the time of fledging of the juvenile cormorants on ground nesting colonies. And in the Netherlands, in low pathogenic avian influenza virus, the ones that Michelle mentioned, H13 and H16 in black-headed gulls, there is every year a specific acute peak of infection in black-headed gull colonies with a virus that they don't become ill from, H13 and H16, at the time of fledging. So it may very well be that this is the factor that allows the virus to spread rapidly throughout a colony site and suddenly cause higher mortality.
Thank you very much for this. Yeah, well, that's that from my observation, it's really matching exactly what you say. So interesting to hear.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. We can bear that in mind in our workshop for later on. So thank you very much, both. That's very interesting. Thank you, Tis. Thank you for the question. Thank you, Ibrahim, very much for leaving your island to have a stable internet connection.